My business idea is for a business called 90% Consulting. Ever heard of the glass half full versus glass half empty effect? That's where we come in. In the crowded business world full of consulting firms that claim to offer all types of services, yet do so in mediocre ways, we are the opposite. We have a laser like focus on using the framing effect to consult businesses on improving their marketing and management. A simple example stemming from our name is the following situation. You have a disease, and a doctor tells you that unfortunately, you have a 10% chance of dying. This is terrible news. But imagine if they had come in and told you that they had great news. You had a 90% chance of living. These are the same options, but the information is presented in radically different ways that influences people's behavior very differently. Compared to large generic consulting firms like Accenture and Deloitte, 90% Consulting will consist of a small team of smart, analytical people with a strong sense of behavioral economics and business. Some will have more business skills, others analytics, others psychology. We will remain small in order to intimately understand our clients' needs and build a relationship with clients, but we will have enough people to generate innovative, creative, and diverse ideas. As outsiders to organizations, we will provide a different perspective to issues than a company could come up with themselves. With 90% Consulting being started by just co founders, it can be started for under $100,000. It is the knowledge of the co founders that is so valuable. 90% Consulting will spend most of the startup money on marketing itself to businesses at the beginning to gain a client base. Of course, framing techniques will be used for this, reducing the costs needed in marketing expenses. Framing effect will be the primary vehicle that we solve tough problems with, but we will also use related effects such as anchoring and loss aversion. There will be two primary engagements with companies: those looking for help improving internal efficiency and those looking for help improving external results. The first part will deal with influencing employees. Essentially, we will train leaders to be better. While there are many leadership books and training programs out there, these are short events with not much retention after a couple of weeks. We will leave a tangible impact by teaching leaders how to specifically implement our suggestions. While situations will vary, a typical scenario is as follows. A leader comes to us and says they want to improve the productivity of their employees. The leader is doing a great job and understands their business model, but requires us to get their employees on board with achieving the mission and beating the competition. We would come in and possibly determine that the leader should frame the mission as a sports game against the competing opponent, supplying energy foods and providing rewards for strong performance, such as group acknowledgments. And to take advantage of loss aversion, rewards will be taken away if mission goals are not met. This strategy meets goal framing, which research has shown to affect motivation. The second part will deal with marketing to consumers. It will deal both with improving the brand of a company and improving the sales of its products and services. Obviously, there are so many marketing firms out there that attempt to improve sales. But since 90% Consulting will have the best understanding of how the consumer actually thinks, we will generate the best results. For example, we will offer slogan creations. A slogan represents the entire company, and it might be what is holding them back from exploding and exponentially growing. This simple change utilizing framing will influence consumer behavior and increase revenue. Our framing on specific products will be based on an intimate understanding of the product and the target consumer and target market. We will create marketing campaigns and special packaging that improves sales. For example, we may be hired by an e-commerce business that just started up and is entering a new market, and they need help. Of course, they will need to take on Amazon. We would potentially recommend using the status quo bias, getting people away from simply using Amazon as a default for all online purchases. Instead, they should market themselves as a much less threatening version of Amazon with the same benefits. They should tell people that Amazon has a history of disrupting industries and that soon, every time they purchase something from Amazon, they're going to be giving money to a company that is certainly going to take over the world and one day take their job with it. On the other hand, if a consumer decides to make a purchase with them, Amazon will still exist and won't really care about them. while the consumer will have an opportunity to try something new. And if they don't like it, Amazon will still be there. Our services will generate profits for the businesses we work with, which is why they will be willing to pay large yet reasonable amounts for the services we provide. We will charge per engagement. While we may not be profitable right away, since we do not have to pay for products and for R&D, we will be on a solid road to profitability from the start. The framing effect, as well as anchoring, has been used in the past with very successful marketing campaigns. For example, L'Oreal changed their slogan to be, "Because I'm worth it." This was a very successful slogan that convinced women to buy skincare products from them. Another example is 90% lean versus 10% fat ground beef. It's the same thing, however, studies have shown that when it's portrayed as lean, there's a higher expected quality than the same exact product in a framing of fat. This is known as attribute framing. Additionally, grocery stores commonly display buy one get one free marketing. Also, the Harvard Business Review used framing to identify problems, use the framing to help avoid them, and then recommend actions. This is useful for leaders in order to inspire their employees to achieve a goal. Of course, there's a caveat. People are risk averse over gains. If we portray 90% consulting as a gain, will that be bad for the business? Will people think it is risky to get involved? Should we portray it as a certain loss if they do not go with us? This is something we need to think about. Our next steps moving forward are to gather the team, raise capital, and connect with venture capital firms in order to get connected with companies that would want to connect with us. We'll market ourselves using framing tactics, of course. Our innovative approach to marketing and management will be noticed by companies. It will be our niche that is small, but yet big enough that there definitely is a market for it.